right. Well, I think we'll admit the rest of the folks as they kind of come on in, but I appreciate everybody that's joined. I'm just going to tell you, I'm pretty excited about this segment, and I hope you guys are too. We're going to hear from two SAP Ariba customers about the tools and programs that they've been using that unite the legal and procurement departments to make their businesses run efficiently and profitably. We're going to start with Amy Frakes. Amy is the global category leader for MRO and site services at Corteva. Corteva is a leader of innovative sustainability solutions for farmers globally. Corteva has more than 10 million customers, 16,000 patents, and 21,000 employees globally. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks, Mike. Thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Next up, we have Stacy Haley. Stacy is contracting and negotiations manager at Roche, the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, and leading provider of cancer treatments globally. Roche has about $58 billion in annual revenue and employs over 100,000 people worldwide. So happy to have you. Welcome, Stacy.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, hey, I'm going to kick it off to Stacy and kind of get this conversation going. Stacy, when it comes to suppliers for an organization, can you tell me about the benefits of a good compliance program and audit trail, and how that benefits the procurement department as well?
Sure, absolutely. So a good compliance program is really based on a great system of record, because employees need to both understand the importance of compliance, but also be empowered to help the company meet everything from compliance and regulatory needs to corporate governance obligations, to just being able to do day-to-day business. And in general, I really do believe that employees want to do the right thing, but without a system of record, there's no way of knowing and documenting whether those right actions were taken. So they might as well have not even been taken at all. And this record has to be in a system. And trust me, this is something that we even can do better. All of us can do better, but it needs to be in a system, because let's face it, employees come and go. And so when things are stored locally on a laptop or even in paper copies, those things get lost as people leave. And it's just miserable when you can't find those emails or those records. So when they're stored in a system of record, that doesn't happen. And then the other thing is just day-to-day doing business. It's so embarrassing when you have to go to a customer come contract renewal time and ask them for a document that you can't find. That's the worst. Every now and then it happens, and those are the moments where you just feel really terrible. So it helps prevent that. Now, from a financial side, and let's face it, as procurement people want to get down to the bottom dollar pretty often. The consequences of not having a good compliance program and a system of record to document it, they're getting more serious each day. When you look at even the California Consumer Privacy Act, the consequences per violation start in the thousands. So you might be looking at $2,500 for one inadvertent violation, and as much as $7,500 for one that was intentional. So if that's one particular consumer's name and personal information, and you're looking at a mailing list of tens, hundreds, or thousands of consumers, that adds up really quickly. So what you really need is to be able to securely store information, but run the reports so that you can access data, manipulate data, update it, even remove people who want to be removed from records. And you may not be able to do that and show that it was done without a business technology platform or a flexible CRM. And then here's the really key part as well. You also need people who can use it to their max capability. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg. But those are the things that really jump out to me as really important starting points for a compliance discussion.
Awesome. So Amy, kind of kicking it to you, taking what we've heard from Stacy, how can the procurement department leverage, some of that data, some of the compliance, and some of the systems to build some of the supplier relationships?
Always a great topic, compliance and records. Stacy and I, as legal and procurement, really kind of walk hand in hand. We don't survive without the other. From my standpoint, having really good records is key to supplier relationship management, the entire life cycle, from the minute you're introduced all the way until the time you decide to part ways. really looking at the you said, I said. You get all the different groups outside of legal and purchasing who don't understand compliance and data. And it really becomes a necessary backbone of every business relationship. Nothing makes me more irritated from a purchasing perspective of someone who's gone out and has a whole contracted relationship with a supplier, has not gone to legal, not gone to procurement, and there's a problem. And they then call in procurement and say, well, here, fix this. Well, I could fix it if I knew what it was we were doing, and I would have known how to avoid the issues at the very beginning. So legal and purchasing here, I mean, we are walking the same path hand in hand.
Awesome. Thank you. And then just real quick, I just want to let the folks know that are on the line, feel free to throw any kind of questions in chat. We want to keep this as colloquial as possible. So I think that, these two have a great rapport and a great dialogue and a lot of expertise. So don't feel free or feel free to kind of lean on them if you have any questions. But the next one I kind of had queued up for both of you. It's kind of regarding the new normal of working from home. So I want to know how you both feel. How does that impact things such as, managing contracts, not just from the legal perspective, but, also how do the procurement teams handle that?
Yeah, I mean, more than ever, companies need a system that can really deliver what stakeholders need when they need it in a robust and compliant way, but also in a way that connects a remote workforce. And I think overall, the pandemic has been tremendous in terms of setting us back, but also pushing us forward with talent. Because now companies aren't limited by geography when they're looking for top talent, because so many people are working remote and so many people are happy to work remote too, and happy employees are great. There's a lot of pros to what we've all been through, but what this really means is that companies have to invest in powerful solutions, and powerful being the key word, because they can't be weighed down when a lot of employees from around the country or around the globe are all using their secure connections to get online at the same time. Even at my work, come 3 p.m. when the East Coast workers are on the same time as Pacific Coast, our systems get bogged down. And at that point in time, it's not easy for employees to do what they need to do, to find things, store things, to access data. And that's a problem. It's fascinating because companies used to have to invest in prime real estate to get top talent, beautiful glass offices, Mike's view right there, something like that. But now it's completely different. Companies have to invest in really quality technology infrastructure to be a great place to work in the virtual environment.
Great. Amy, any comments on that from your perspective?
Absolutely. So I'm a COVID baby. I was hired 2 years ago by Corteva in the midst of COVID. So I never had even come into the office until this year. So, learning to develop those relationships and use the systems remotely was really, really kind of a challenge, but also great. Thankfully, a majority of what we do is all cloud-based. We have a global service center in India. And so we're doing a lot of things in Ariba where I can go look and see what's going on globally 24/7 to look at what the team's working on, what I need to approve, what's escalating. It's been interesting because we've been at COVID work for 2+ years. I still see people that have a ton of technology issues. And I don't know about anybody else, but I still see problems with people not understanding that background noise, that mute buttons do work. So that's kind of like my sarcasm and my pet peeve for the day. But the biggest issue that I see from my standpoint in procurement right now is I support all the manufacturing sites. And one of my biggest relationship drivers and problem solving is being on site in manufacturing. And I rely on my supply base to be able to go visit my local sites, bring those things back to me, and then develop global projects and initiatives on that. We've lost the access to innovation with COVID. And I really am now just starting to get my supply base back into locations and meeting them there, meeting the people on site, and really trying to find better ways to do business just in case we all get put back into lockdown again.
Awesome. Great answers. Well, next kind of thing we kind of talked about is you guys have both obviously have been part of large enterprises using the Ariba software. I think what I'd like to ask, and what other people might find some benefit to, or like, what is one big takeaway that you'd like to share with potential or current customers, like not only just in the large enterprise, but the mid-market space as well, as far as the Ariba software?
So I'll jump in. I mean, I just
Okay.
went through something earlier this week with ERS and SES processes in Ariba. And don't be afraid to test the limits of the system. Really push it and not just look at Ariba's processes, but look at your own and see where they intermingle. I can tell you that one of the things we've also learned working with Ariba is it's really important that our customers outside of procurement and legal understand the whys of the system and how it works, and that process documentation and the decision trees, getting everybody aligned really is helpful on those internal relationships.
Do you have any comments on that, Stacy? I
Sure.
saw you clear your throat.
Yeah, sorry. I've been under the weather, so I did the little box test for COVID and it was negative. So I'm got my fingers crossed. But so I think buying something like Ariba is a little bit like buying a gym membership. And before anybody spits out their coffee, like what? It's great when you go and you buy it and you have the best of intentions, but you have to keep up with it. And what that means is system upgrades or the very next capability. And I think that's something that the organization where I work could even do better. It's what the next great option is or the next great thing to deploy, and not using the system that you bought years ago and hoping that you still get the same results. It really is like going to the gym. You have to have the right people involved to help you be successful. So sometimes you need like an Ariba personal trainer to come in and help consult and make sure that you're maximizing things to the best capabilities. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually probably the best way to go about things. So buy that gym membership, but then keep up with it and make sure you've got that personal trainer to keep you on task and make sure you're using the equipment at the gym how you're supposed to, if you know what I mean.
Great analogy. So this one, I hope I don't get in a fight, but the last question, and it goes to both of you. Don't punch me. Is legal a bottleneck in dealing with your suppliers? And if so, what can be done to expedite the process between both legal and procurement departments? Be candid.
Yes, yes, we are. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But it's for good reason. It's where your safety net, and we're trying to protect you at the end of the day. But quite often, contracting or legal, they're not given the information that they need to really help you and help you quickly. The best way I can think of it, we've gone from gym memberships to Grubhub today. It's why I don't order from Grubhub very much anymore. And it's because my order is always wrong. It just never fails. But the good news is that I usually get a refund for all or part of the order, because everything that was supposed to be in that bag when it was delivered is listed out. And at the end of the day, contracts are just really, really sophisticated and usually much more expensive Grubhub orders. Ultimately, if you just go on Grubhub and you order lunch, chances are you're going to be the gluten-free vegetarian that ends up with a meat lover's deep dish pizza. However, if your Grubhub order or your contract lists exactly what you need, when you need it, how you want it done, and what happens if you don't get exactly what you ordered, or for purchasing, what you've purchased, those all important acceptance criteria, then you're going to have some recourse to go back to a supplier and have them reperform work or give you a credit. And I think sourcing people, they've gone through an RFP, so they've seen all of what you think might be minutia, all of those specific details. And since they were in the RFP, the sourcing person is ready to get to that PO and get to work or get whatever's been purchased. But all of those really key details, they need to make it to a contract for that contract to be enforceable. And the other thing is you can have a contract builder, like an actual tool, if you're relying on sourcing people to take the first crack at a contract so that those important details aren't missed, or those template elements that they get pulled through to the draft copy that's sent to someone like me in contracting or legal. And that makes my job a lot easier. If you think about it, you're really frustrated when the sauce gets left out of your Grubhub order, but all of those specific contract details, that's the sauce for someone like me. That's the really good stuff. And that's what I need to see come through in the first draft of a contract to be able to get you done more quickly.
Awesome. Amy, you're so bashful. Do you have any comments on that?
I know. Stacy's got me thinking about lunch now and more.
Oh gosh, I know.
So I guess, I think legal and purchasing, we both get a bad rep as a bottleneck. And I completely agree with Stacy. It's really not about us being a bottleneck or telling you no. It's really about being guardians of the company's bottom line and earnings per share. A lot of what we do as critical members of our companies is really indirect. It's direct impact to the bottom line. It's not just about cost of goods sold. So, it's not just about what am I paying for this? It's what's the total impact and the cost to the company. And I think that's kind of the mindset change that I've brought to Corteva, and I'm trying to get my teams to realize that, we've got business terms. It's really important that we understand what are legal terms to make Stacy's job easier, as well as what are the business terms that we really need to counsel folks on. And I guess I encourage others and my customers, kind of like when I go to Chick-fil-A and they actually messed up my order and I got online and I told them about it, they called me personally and said, we understand why this didn't work for you. Give us another chance to make it better. So I would just encourage anyone, if you have an irate customer who views you as a bottleneck, do the Chick-fil-A service, give them a call. And once I think people understand the why of purchasing and legal and how we need to team and partner and be one doing business transactions, people feel much better, much more empowered, and they understand that you're there to actually help them protect their bottom line.
I've worked with Amy in Indianapolis for years now, and something that she just said really resonated with me, and it was picking up the phone and how she couldn't believe that they picked up the phone and called her after something went wrong. But also pick up the phone. I know people don't pick up the phone anymore. Okay? Like they want to send a text, but really pick up the phone and call someone like Amy in your organization, because she has so much knowledge from a sourcing base, and she oversees a group of people who are buyers and various other like niche knowledge bases, and they can really tell you what you need to know about a supplier. They can go back and tell you that business has been a little bit tenuous with them for years and they're trying to win you back, or they can tell you something else about the history of it and just be the true experts on the relationship. And those are the kind of things that when you know about what you're buying or about the relationship with the customer, you can come to a contract negotiation a lot more prepared or know what's in there. So trust me, someone like Amy would love to help you or get somebody on her team to help you. And so rely on that deep knowledge that you cannot replicate. You can't Google a supplier and learn as much about them as somebody like Amy can tell you about them and how to make that relationship really work better.
Thank you. I'll pay you after this conference call.
No problem. Call me a Grubhub order. No, just kidding.
Man, from Grubhub to Chick-fil-A to SAP to Corteva and Roche, I think we've covered a lot. Again, if anybody has any kind of open questions, I didn't see anything in the chat, but no, we do have one. Tara, Michael, you can take her off of mute. So from Tara, she wants to work well with her legal team. What factors can I consider to be proactive in providing them with what they need?
Sure, Tara, the fact that you're even asking that question means that you're already taking a leg up and being an MVP as a partner. But I think the first thing that you can do is find out if there's a template for the type of supplier relationships that you manage. And one night when you can't sleep, because there's going to be a lot of fine print in there that's a little boring, but one night when you can't sleep, really read it. Don't just scan it, but read it and find out things like something simple, a payment term in your organization. Maybe the standard payment term is that you pay suppliers in 90 days. So the next time you're dealing with a first draft of a contract, make sure that 90 days are already in there as the payment term, because that's one less thing that legal or contracting is going to have to go through and mark up and ask you questions about. So, pinch hit for legal on those easy things like payment terms, or if there are any certain things that suppliers have to agree to, like a global code of conduct or ethical code of conduct, make sure that you've already got those things down. And then if there's something really hard that the supplier wants to go back and discuss, like indemnification or insurance obligations for cyber liability, that's something I'm seeing a lot these days. The lawyers will take that for you. They don't mind coming to bat for you on those really hard things. But if you tee up the easy things and you have a contract that's drafted really well with those great acceptance criteria, those details, the payment term already being your organization's standard number, then you are light years ahead of the rest of the pack who just walks in and says, hi, I would like to spend $1 million. We're good, right? I did an RFP. We're cool, thanks. So, yeah.
Amy, comments on that from your side? Yeah.
Sure. The only thing I would add to that is when you do send a contract to legal, make sure that from a business perspective, you have 4 to 5 sentences about what the project is, what the goal and outcome is of the project, so that that legal person gets that picture in their mind of what you're trying to do. And then one of the practices I've always engaged in is in the body of the email, going through the areas where I've made comments in the contract and why I've made the comments. So that way legal has a summary as they're going through the whole legal document. And you may not be able to do that off the top, very beginning. But if you start to try to get into the practice of doing that, legal, it helps them get through the contract faster. And it starts to raise questions for you to ask your customer of, well, why do you understand how this impacts you? And I think when you can explain it in plain English, people very much respond.
Yeah, contracts really are in plain English with, a few like legal dollar words mixed in, but the plain English words are the more important ones, what Amy just said, because those are the ones that a person who's seeing if the contract obligations have been met are really looking at in terms of like, did you get what you purchased? You can say the word indemnify all you want, but if you are buying certain market research and you haven't explained what that research is, then you could be in a world apart.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions we have for now. We're kind of getting close to the top of the hour. Oh, nope. Okay, got another one. Any resources you can recommend to strengthen contract details, skills / terminology?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Actually, yeah, Amy, I thought that this is a perfect one for you since you might not be a lawyer, even though you probably could be by now.
I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night. No, I'm kidding. So I actually have a BA in legal studies, and then I worked 4.5 years at Caterpillar writing contracts. So I learned a lot about what's legal terms versus what is just business terms. I would say if you schedule time with like a paralegal or a contract administrator or leader like Stacy or one of your lawyers internally, ask them to teach you and just spend a little bit of time with them. And first of all, they will be so delighted that you're being proactive and that you asked, and they'll really break it down for you. And that's just continuing to strengthen that relationship.
Roche is really proactive. About once a year, there's an annual refresher training where the business can come hang out with legal for an hour and 90 minutes and kind of get the crash course on what we do. So if that doesn't exist in your organization, I think all the time how lucky I am that Roche really puts an emphasis on training and development. But if that isn't an option where you currently work, ask legal to do that for you, every 6 months or once a year. Because the other thing is, lawyers love to hear themselves talk. I know.
And you get paid by the word, Stacy.
Exactly. So, I'd bet the farm that no one is going to be upset to come show off a little to your team about their expertise. So just ask. I'm sure they would oblige.
Awesome. Thank you. Nope. So Tara did respond. Just great suggestions. Thank you, both of you. So,
No, thank you, Tara.
all right. If anybody has any last questions, I'll give you a couple seconds to throw something in chat or take yourself off mute. But if I don't get anything, I do want to say thank you so much to everybody that attended, and thank you very, very much to our amazing guest speakers, Amy Frakes, Stacy Haley. If you anybody felt shy or has a last minute question that they thought of, feel free to email me directly and I'll pass that on to them and they'll be happy to contact you. So at that point, I bid you adieu. Careful with your Grubhub orders, and thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.